Bitcoin's the only thing that doesn't go down. 51,000. Bitcoin's at fucking 51,000. It's at 11,000 in August. Jesus Christ. I'm never buying Bitcoin. Never. Never, never. I don't believe a thing about it, but I do think it's profitable. And I think there's enough steam that it may just continue to go up forever, but I don't buy the underlying like junk behind it. I know it makes money. I know the bubbly gang's behind it, and I know everyone else is bubbly gang-esque. Congratulations to them. They're driving Ferraris and buying houses from underneath me, but nope, not doing it.
We're calling it our final play. It's actually my last segment, so I get to pick the topic. Last segment, I stole it from Romaine to do treasuries. This segment, I stole it from Caroline. She kills it on Bitcoin, but I decided to pretend it's mine. But take a look at this. To the moon. To the moon actually means 1 standard deviation. If you can believe it or not, I for sure thought the Bitcoin rally had blown through at least 2 or 3 standard deviations. No, at $50,000, it is only about 1 standard deviation or so. Still, we can do our favorite emojis and do our diamond hands and our to the moon. Let's do it with Seth Gins, head of liquid investments at CoinFund. Seth, bring us some perspective and some clarity on what $50,000 of Bitcoin means to you.
Well, you know, it's interesting. 50,000 is up from 20,000 the last time I was on, which wasn't that long ago. But we really see Elon's announcement last week to add Bitcoin to the Tesla balance sheet as a major de-risking event that's going to take a little while for the market to fully price it in. We had some additional very positive headlines today. The Bitcoin broker NYDIG filed for a Bitcoin ETF, and MicroStrategy issued another convert, 600 million going into Bitcoin. But I really do think that the tailwind here is that this continued institutional look at adding Bitcoin to balance sheets, allocators looking at adding Bitcoin, and Tesla was a game changer in my view.
So speaking of breakouts, Bitcoin, that continues to sizzle. Many wonder if it's too late or should they continue to wait for the dips? How many of you out there have been waiting for that dip? Well, let's ask Market Gates Group Managing Director Michelle Snyder. I want to start with Bitcoin, Michelle, because you seem to be a believer. Right now, millions of people kicking themselves for not buying it. I tried to buy one dip, that one dip from 20 to 17,000, whatever. It didn't work out for me. I couldn't get the account open. Should people try to nuance this thing and wait for the dip, or just get in if they want to be a part of this?
Well, I think you have to really define dip. And last week we had a dip because it went from 40 up to 49 and went down to 44. There was your dip. So now we have to have a new definition for dip. Right now, 49 to 50 will be your dip. And if that holds, then we can see it going up to 60 or more. The bigger idea of Bitcoin is people are likening it, let's say, to the tulip bulb mania. Well, that mania went on for a long time before it peaked out. And this may not turn out to be a mania because of the blockchain technology and because it's changing the whole face of investing and valuations and institutional interest. And the fact that all these institutions are jumping on is only legitimizing it, ETFs, et cetera. So I would say right now, look at 49.50. If you don't want to wait too long, we're not that far away. That would be your breaking point where I would get out. And I think we still see a lot of upside here, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt when you start to hear about BNY Mellon, the oldest bank in America, when you start to see some of these long-standing financial institutions say, hey, we want to be a part of this, or at least acknowledge its existence and facilitate it, that's the kind of foundation that, the tulip bubble never had.
Exactly. This is really a much more legitimate face. And add to that MicroStrategy borrowing $900 million to buy more Bitcoin. So the cap right now is at around $1 trillion, and it looks like it could continue to grow.
Department of Justice has unsealed an indictment against several alleged North Korean intelligence officials. They're saying that these intelligence officials on behalf of the government of North Korea were involved in a massive global cybersecurity fraud campaign that was designed to hit everything from entertainment companies to banks to cryptocurrency entities. The allegation here in this document, which we've just received, is that they were part of a $1.3 billion attempted fraud and extortion campaign. We're going to look through here for a little bit more detail on exactly what these North Korean actors are alleged by the U.S. government now to have done, but we expect to be getting a little bit more detail here from the Department of Justice in the next couple of minutes and bring that to you as soon as we can. But the headline here, Carl, North Korean intelligence officials indicted for alleged participation in a massive cybersecurity fraud campaign around the world. Back over to you.
Eamon, even as you speak, some of the additional headlines are filtering through the wires. One says that DOJ says a Canadian American also pleaded guilty to laundering money for those North Korean hackers. So this looks to be a little more multidimensional than simply a North Korea story.
Yeah, absolutely. And the types of companies here that are impacted seem to be pretty broad here. There's some mention in the documents of Sony and AMC theaters as a target of some of this cyber activity. There's also a mention of cryptocurrencies being targeted, a spear phishing campaign designed by some of these North Korean officials allegedly in order to steal cryptocurrencies of one kind or another around the world. So the idea here is that this was a wide-ranging cyber fraud campaign designed at getting at revenue for the North Korean government, apparently, but also impacting companies across the global economy.
Eamon, any echoes here of what we saw from that Sony hack what was it, 6-7 years ago that seemed to involve North Korea being upset at Sony over that movie, The Interview?
Yep. In fact, the movie The Interview is mentioned in this indictment document as part of the reason why the North Koreans would have been interested in Sony. There's some details in here regarding that. I have not had a chance to review the entire document, which is quite lengthy, but this does appear to be U.S. law enforcement having rolled up this campaign. They've got as far as I can tell, three North Korean officials here named by name and by alias, each one alleged to have a number of different aliases that were participating in this scam over the years. So it's a multi-pronged, multi-year scam, and it's going to take us a little bit here to understand exactly how much money was allegedly stolen by the North Koreans, what part of that was successful versus what part of it was unsuccessful in terms of the money theft piece of this. And then the other piece is the disruptive piece, the attempt to actually disrupt any of those companies that the North Koreans decided to target for their own political reasons.
And Eamon, more broadly, I don't want to ask you too many specific questions about this because you haven't had a chance to go through it in detail, but what's the significance of the cryptocurrency angle here? There have been a number of stories about North Korea stealing or trying to steal millions or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrencies through cyber attacks. Is there danger to the individual crypto investor here or no?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, DOJ officials are talking about the idea of stealing cryptocurrency that's in crypto wallets around the world. And so I think if you're an individual crypto investor, your eyebrows should go up here. You want to pay attention to what the threat is because we're sort of aware of what the heist opportunities are for criminals in the physical banking world, but we haven't been as aware of what the threats are to those in the cybersecurity realm. And if you're dealing in cryptocurrencies, the idea that nation states could be targeting your Bitcoin wallet or some other cryptocurrencies that you own might be a new one, but it might be a risk factor you're going to have to think about going forward, because this is clearly something that's not going to stop anytime soon.
And Bitcoin is on everybody's mind right now. Your next-gen internet fund has a very large position in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So your thoughts on this? Your thoughts on Bitcoin, a Bitcoin ETF for 2021, is it coming? And do you have any concerns that the Grayscale closed-end fund still trading at a pretty significant premium?
Well, the premiums come down quite a bit. I think now that we know that the next SEC commissioner is going to be David Gensler, who spent the last few years at MIT teaching a class about blockchain technology, Bitcoin. I think he understands the technology and he understands the currency itself. So I think the probability of an ETF has gone up. We also know that the director of research for crypto in the crypto space at the SEC has been promoted and will be reporting directly to Gensler. So again, I think we have individuals now involved who really understand the space. And I think the likelihood has gone up. What has surprised us, we expected institutional interest to pick up this year, and it certainly has. But the way in which it's picked up has surprised us. I don't think we ever thought there would be broad-based substitution of Bitcoin for cash on corporate balance sheets. So we find that very interesting. If all corporations in the United States were to put, I think it's, 10% of their cash into Bitcoin, that alone would add $200,000 to the Bitcoin price. Now, we obviously do not believe this is going to happen very quickly. We're talking about maybe the equivalent of $900 billion market cap equivalent for Bitcoin. That's less than half the price of the Apples and Amazons of the world. So this has to mature a little bit before broad-based adoption can take place. But we're very reassured that companies like Square and Tesla have chosen to allocate. They're on the right side of change when it comes to innovation, and therefore we think it's wise that they diversify some of their cash. And I think the biggest surprise to many Tesla doubters is that it is now in a position where it has that much cash that it is diversifying.